Hello everyone and welcome to the 66th episode of NiinaN Knitting. My name's Niina and I live in Jyväskylä in central Finland with my husband, our two kids and a dog. Today is Thursday, January 7th, 2021. Happy New Year! It's the day when our kids went back to school after the holidays. For my son, it means that he's doing remote learning at school at the computer, and my daughter actually physically went to school. As you can see, it's a little dark outside still. It's about 8:30 in the morning. There are some video clips that I've made and a couple of things I'm going to do once it gets a little bit later today. The temperature is about -5 degrees Celsius, so not bad. That's, what is it? 20 some degrees Fahrenheit. And it's a nice weather. After last episode, well, it was Christmas and New Year, very uneventful. We were at home, just the four of us at Christmas. It was the first time we've been at home. We've always gone mostly to my parents or to my hometown. But this was the first time we were at home. It was the first time we had a Christmas tree also, because since we were always away on the essential days, that it was not there was no point in getting a tree before. But we did have one this year. Maybe we'll have put a photo here somewhere. It's been taken out already, of course, because it's a natural tree and they don't last that long indoors. And the new year, we were home. My husband's cousin had a few fireworks, so we went to see them at one point, and then they went home, and we went home. So very, very uneventful. The intro here, I'll just mention before I forget. It was taken on the Finnish Independence Day on the 6th of December. We went for a hike. It was a couple of degrees above freezing, so I think you can see on the video that the branches of the trees were damp. But there was a really nice scenery there, so I took some video of that. And the outro that I'll put in the end at the end of the episode is my dog having a time of his life and enjoying snow. You'll see that in the at the end of the episode. I have quite a few finished objects, as you can imagine, since there was Christmas and Christmas presents. And in addition to Christmas presents, I've had this sort of out with the old sentiment. So I've been trying to clear my needles, and actually at the moment I do have a work in progress that I just picked up, so I'm not even going to show that today, because I have enough for one episode, enough FOs for one episode. Most of them are knitting and then a couple of sewing things. And at the very end of the episode, I'll talk about 2 books that I've read. Here's a really small FO that I made in an evening. The pattern is called Data's Bookmark by Torun Johansen, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry. I knit it using Rondo virkkauslanka, something that I've used before this year.
It has 550 meters in 100 grams. And I used a 2.5 millimeter hook. And the pattern was really easy, well written in my opinion, and it was easy to determine how long you wanted to make it. And of course, if you wanted to make it wider, you could have made 2 motifs instead of just one. I crocheted this for a friend of mine. It'll be a total surprise. I ordered this book directly from the author, Valérie Timsit, I think you'd say her name. Elle était belle, ma mère. And since I could fit 2 copies of the book in the same shipping costs, that's what I did, and decided to send one of them to a friend. Here are my niece's Christmas presents. Getting in and out of focus. The light is not very good. So this is actually something I showed you last time. It's the medium gray pair. All of them are Water Lily leg warmers by Andy Clark. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. So this pair is something that I had finished, but I hadn't put on the crocheted threads at the top of the leg warmers. But then that was for the middle niece, and this is for the youngest, the pink version. And then I have a slightly longer version for the eldest of my nieces, and this color is called Fog. And in these 2 pairs there are 3 repeats of each motif, each cable motif, 3 times with 3 different needles. So I started with 4.5 millimeter needle, did the ribbing and 3 repeats of the cable, changed into 5.0 millimeter needle, did 3 repeats of the cable, and then changed into 5.5 millimeter needle and finished the leg warmer. For the longest, or the slightly longer version, I have 4 repeats of the here in the beginning, so with the 4.5 millimeter needles. Otherwise they are the same, and the pattern is free on Ravelry. Very easy to follow, and I use Drops Air yarn, so it was very soft, and I really like how they look.
So, because it is minus 10 degrees centigrade, which is about plus 15 degrees Fahrenheit, let's talk about t-shirts, shall we? It may come as a surprise to you that I'm not going to model them for you. I actually don't even have decent finished object photos of them, but oh well. Maybe in the summer. So first of all, this is a t-shirt that I was knitting last time. I showed it to you as a work in progress. I used the Flora yarn, and the colorway is number 15 display. And the Flora has 210 meters in a 50 gram ball, which is 420 in 100 grams. It's 65% wool, 35% alpaca. And this is the first time I've used it. It was very nice to knit, and I think it drapes pretty nicely. Now you can see through the sky, or through the t-shirt, you can see the sky behind me. So the it factor, of course, was here in the back, where you have this really, really nice panel of lace, and there's the stitch marker showing where I was going last time. This is a top-down t-shirt, and then after you'd finished knitting, you did just a little bit of finishing on the neckline, just one round of pearls and then bind off. And I really liked it. It sits really nicely on me. I knit size XXL. I used my 4.0 millimeter needles. That is US size 6. And in the beginning and here in the hem, I think I used 3.5 millimeter needles, so that should be US size 7. There is some garter, a few rows of garter here in the hem. You can see how I've really locked it in order to get it like going down and not flipping upwards. So it's, how should I say it? Because after I'd bound it off, it tended to fold up like this. And we'll see when I start wearing the shirt if it stays like this or if it'll start flipping up. But I think in a way it seems okay. But just now that I've only blocked it, you can see where I put the pins, and that's not very pretty. But then again, who's gonna see, or who's gonna see closely enough or watch closely enough to notice that? Because everybody's going to look at the back, which is just absolutely beautiful. This was due on December 20th, and that's when I finished it. Bad test knitter. And I actually had to do some correcting because after I think 2 repeats of the lace, I started being overconfident and didn't really read the chart anymore because I thought, yeah, I got this. And actually I didn't. I'd forgotten these rows here. And even though the motif, even without these, was pretty okay, it's a test knit. And besides, it wasn't such a big deal to thread a needle somewhere up where I'd started making the mistake and then ripping the stitches back from this lace panel and then finishing the shirt right, because that's what you're supposed to do when you're doing a test knit. You're not supposed to make mistakes. You're supposed to notice if the designer has made any mistakes in the pattern. But yeah, this is really nice. It's a very basic shirt, and when I tried it on, I do like the neckline. It's a nice V, not too deep, because that's really not what I want. But it's not close to the neck at all. So if you're one of those people who really find it distressing or don't like the fact that the neckline is high up, close to the neck, then yeah, this one is really nice and nice and down, but not too much, if you know what I mean. And then there is another t-shirt. Like I said, it's the middle of winter. Last time I talked to you about this, it's the middle of winter, and I'm kind of in the mood for knitting some t-shirts. Pretty logical, right? Well, they'll be ready for the summer whenever it comes. But my next t-shirt, the other one, is the Vback tee by Jamie Hoffman. It's a paid for pattern on Ravelry, and you know the tea is also available on Ravelry. I don't know the cost, but it's a paid for pattern in there. But this one is just over $8.50 on Ravelry. I knit size 4 and I used mostly size 4.0 millimeter needles, that's US size 6, and for the ribbing 3.25, that's US size 3. And this is something that I knit out of the Advent yarn that I got from Giddy Yarns. So they were 10-gram minis, and look at how amazingly beautiful it got. So this actually is the back of the tee. But look at how pretty the colors are. They're not a fade, but there's always, I think, a hint of the next one in the colors and a hint of the previous one in most of the colors anyway. So I really like it how they work together. So this is the front actually, and this shirt, for those who don't like their necklines close to the neck, at least for me and the way I knit this is pretty close to the neck if you're wearing it this way front, so like the V in the back. So this was actually pretty close to my throat when I tried it on. It doesn't bug me, but I know that there are people who don't like that kind of necklines. But yeah, you start with a 1x1 ribbing. I did a tubular cast on. Looks pretty nice. I'm not sure how well it shows on camera. And then I knit all of each mini. I didn't want any leftovers, so I used all of the first December 1st yarn here, then I switched to December 2nd, etc. I think this was her sock base, which is probably the normal 75% merino, 25% polyamide. And yeah, it's really fun. When I got to the point where I separated for the sleeves, I knit down a couple of colors, and then on this color I started also knitting the sleeves. In retrospect, I would have preferred to, knit this light like minty green color also in the sleeves. It would have sort of looked nicer, but oh well, it's okay. I used tubular bind off here, both in the sleeves and in the hem. The sleeves, especially the bind off, even though it is pretty stretchy, kind of feels a little tight around my huge biceps. I don't know if it will once I start using the shirt, because of course the knitting will give a little more maybe, but we'll see how it feels. One thing that I noticed when I blocked this shirt is that has this really weird lump here. It's actually above the hips for me. It's possibly has something to do with how long I continued doing the V in the back. I'm actually, I never or almost never use the same pattern twice, but I am very much thinking about doing this again, and maybe I'll do some measuring and like of the finished garment, and read the pattern with those measurements. See if I'll make another version where I'll avoid this lump. Of course, when you wear the shirt, where's the side seam? Yeah, here. I'm pretty sure that the knitting will flow nicely and you won't probably even notice it. One thing that I thought I might do was to make it an A-line. I don't remember if there were decreases here in the hem, but you might try an A-line hem. I'm not sure. And then in the hem, you only have just a few rows of ribbing. I only made a few. I think I actually made a few more than in the pattern in order to, get it downwards better. But as you can see, yeah, it's curling up. We'll see how it goes when you start wearing the shirt, if I'll have to try and do something about that. I don't know, because I already took out a few rows before the ribbing, just because I noticed that there wouldn't be enough of this color yarn to do the ribbing, or enough of it. But we'll see how it goes, and I'll have to try and get some photos of this shirt. But I really like the sort of bright colors, bright stripes, and the fact that the back is the V is, yeah, I really liked it. I tried, the pattern says that you can wear it either way around, but I tried it on this way, and I prefer it this way. I like how the stripes look in the front, and I do like how the back looks with the V, so I will probably wear it that way around. And then of course there's a pair of socks. Now this pattern is called Clearly Determined by Lisa K. Ross. It's my Christmas Eve cast on, and I used my 2.5 millimeter Knit Pro Cubics when I knit these, and I used this Regia Pairfect yarn. It's got 75% virgin wool, I think, yeah, and 25% polyamide, and you have 420 meters in 100 grams. Pairfect yarn is one of those where you have a few meters of bright yellow colored yarn, and then the actual colorway starts. And then there are instructions in the ball band of what you should do when the color changes, because as you can see, it is a self-patterning yarn. And this is the prettier one. This is the first one I knit. You start here. I did the cast on that was recommended in the pattern. It was something that I had never done before. It's nice and stretchy, and it was something different, so it was pretty fun to make. So you have ribbing, and then you start doing these small cables, and you have a very, very small motif here in the front of the sock. And then these cables go down the heel flap after right until you start doing the heel turn. I really liked it. I really liked the outcome, let's say. The finished sock is really pretty. It's really nice in this yarn too. I think the sort of the different stripes or the different motifs work pretty nicely with the measurements of the sock. But once I had knit one of them, and it's like, as you can see, it's super repetitive. You have a small motif here in the front, and then you turn the cable on the sides. So really repetitive, and I'm not too much into that, as you know if you've watched my podcast before. And when I started doing the second one and I got into the heel flap, you can almost see it. I wasn't reading the instructions well enough, so I skipped 2 rows here, which means that I have more of this dark color here after the heel turn, as you can see. So that's how much it matters if you make 2 rows less here. And it doesn't bother me, but of course you can see it if you start looking at it. Yes, it's obvious, but it's fine. It's a nice pair of socks. They fit me pretty well, I think. I think I made them to fit my foot, and I'll probably keep them just to remind me that yes, I have done this kind of socks.
Here are the shirts that I sewed for my husband's nephews, 2 boys. And this pattern is called Mushroom. It's in Ottobre Kids Fall 4/2014 magazine. It's different in the magazine, but I chose to use one fabric for the body part and another fabric for the sleeves and the cuffs in the same fabric as the body. I made it in 2 sizes because there are 2 boys. One is size 98 centimeters, and the other one is 110. And yeah, it was an easy pattern to sew. Nothing too difficult about it. And I just decided to put these size markings on the shirts because, you know, they're the same otherwise, so it'll be easier to know which one is for which boy when they come off the laundry. And this one is for my husband's niece. This pattern's called Peplum jersey tunic, and I used one fabric for this upper part of the body. This is something that I had in my stash, and the wonderful pink is from Vback, as was the yellow in the boys' sleeves. And yeah, it was a nice pattern. I made size 110 centimeters. I really like how it looks. It turned out pretty nice. The only difficult part was, of course, hemming, doing the curved hem, but I found a YouTube tutorial about how to do it in order not to have what's it called? Not folds, but something else.
So I thought I would mention two books that I've read after last episode. And the first of them is this one. It's from Stefan Ahnhem, who is a Swedish writer. This is his first book. It's not a new one. This Finnish was published in 2014. In Finnish, it's called Pimeään, jäänyt, but the original, the Swedish version, is Offer utan ansikte, and it's been translated into English as Victim Without a Face. If you like murder stories, crime stories with a Scandinavian dark ambiance, you should you should definitely look into this one. This, as I said, is Stefan Ahnhem's first book. The main character of the book is Fabian Risk, who's a police officer, detective, investigator. I don't know the lingo, but he's had some marital problems, and they have decided to leave Stockholm, the capital of Sweden, and the whole family has moved to Helsingborg, which is a city on the southwestern coast of Sweden, opposite to Denmark. And it's the city where Fabian grew up. And so he's going to start work there after summer vacations, where the school starts in mid-August. But as it happens, when he comes or gets to Helsingborg, one of his old classmates turns up dead and pretty brutally murdered too. And at first he's been asked to come as a sort of character witness and maybe shed some light into this victim, what he was like, etc. And then another classmate from the same class also is found dead, murdered. And etc., etc. Of course, Fabian can't help himself. He starts to work, even though he was supposed to take some time off before starting at Helsingborg police force. And it's like I said, it's sinister, but and yes, there are some detailed descriptions of the murders, but they don't go on and on and on. So even though I'm not too crazy about blood and guts and all that, those passages are pretty short. So I just read on, and we'll get back to the plot, which is more important to me. Like as you can see, it's pretty big. This hardcover, which I have borrowed from the library, has 534 pages. But I think as a paperback, well, first of all, it'll be smaller in size, and I guess the individual pages, the paper of the pages will be finer, and the characters, the font is not small in this book, so it may not be quite as big in paperback version, but it's really good. It's really good. The chapters are short enough so that when you finish one, it's okay, should I go on? I have maybe so and so many minutes before I gotta do something else. Oh, the next chapter is only 5 pages, so yeah, I'll just read the next one and the next one. But it hasn't been a book that's sort of kept me up so that I wouldn't have been able to put it down and go to bed. But yeah, I really enjoyed reading this one, and it was the second book that I've read from Stefan Ahnhem. The first one was an audiobook version of the next Fabian Risk book, so next in this series, and I have made a note of the third book from him, so I'm definitely going to read that at some point this year, 2021. The other book I thought I would talk to you about is called Toinen, tuntematon. It's an audiobook that I listen to, and I'll put a photo of the cover on the screen. It's sort of a sister book to Tuntematon sotilas, which has been translated into English as The Unknown Soldier by Väinö. It's a Finnish literary classic about Finland at the time of continuation war and the soldiers at the front. And so this Toinen, tuntematon, which is like The Other Unknown, is a series of short stories written by several different Finnish authors, and they are like the stories of the women at the same period of time. So the ones that were at home taking care of everything, family, farming, whatever there was to do, and of course other kinds of professions too. And then the ones who were also working at the front or near the front, so taking care of cooking and nursing and and there were a couple of stories about women who lived in Karelia, where this was war, a lot of it took place, at least the ones they were talking about in the books, and you know what it was like to live in Karelia when the Finnish soldiers came there, and when Finland had overtaken a city and were purifying it. And so Finland was at war against, was it called Russia at that time? Soviet Union, something like that. So on the east front. And these were, you know, Toinen, tuntematon are the stories of the women at that time. And it was interesting. War literature is not really my thing. I'm not into history at all, but the stories were moving, even though they're not true stories, but you know, they could be. And every once in a while, it's good to read something to educate yourself. If you're interested in what else I have read, I do have an Instagram handle, NiinaN Reading, so you can check that out. That's all, folks, for now. I hope you enjoyed this episode. You can always put a thumbs up in the comments, or click thumbs up. Thumbs down too if you like, but of course I would like to hear a comment on what it is that makes you put the thumb down. You don't have to. You don't have to. You can do whatever you want. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't. And yeah, leave me a message. There'll be links to my project pages on Ravelry down below in the description box. And there's a link to my Ravelry group with the episode thread and the same show notes that I have here below. I'll see you in a few weeks, I think. And again, I hope you have a really nice 2021. Let's stay healthy or get healthy if you're not well at the moment. And just stay positive and hope for the best. Yeah, see ya. Bye.